are still stuck back there. Come on out of that cave. Come on. You can build your own house. There is liberty. Don't you know? Have you heard? You have been set free. We are free thinkers. We're free. We are free thinkers.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome home. Come on in the house. Doesn't it look welcoming here? I love the setting where we're in. I feel comfortable. I feel relaxed. I hope that you do as well. And I really believe you do, because people keep coming back and watching the podcast. That thrills me to no end. I am so excited that on the Creative Motion Roku television network, we have been rated in the top 10 pretty consistently, even number 1, number 3, and 4. It's just an honor to be able to come before you. And my son looked at me once. He said, "Mom, you're a creative content. You're a content creator." And I was like, "What does that mean?" So, it's a new term. It was a new term for me, but I get it in terms of what he's saying. But I am so blessed, so honored, so humbled, so thrilled to be able to create content, to be able to come before you on a regular basis, come weekly, and talk about topics that are relevant to us as humans, relevant to Americans, relevant. We have people around the world looking at this. That blesses me at an entirely other level as well. So humanity has issues. Why? Because we're human. we're created in the image of God. In that same flow, we have challenges. The Bible says to work out your own soul and salvation with fear and trembling burning. Fear is respect. I have a respect for this process of living life. And work out your own soul. What is that? Your soul, your mind, our will, our emotions, our intellect, our drive, our desires. Each one of those just encompasses so much. So on this podcast, from destruction to dignity, clinical perspectives, spiritual truths, we go there. We go there. There's so many, as you can see. I mean, I'm past 20 episodes of this. And I remember when we started one, and I know my passion is working with addiction. That's my licensure. And I've said this before, there's a little disclaimer at the bottom that says this is not therapy. My whole purpose, and you know it, you've heard me say it before, is to provoke thought, to bring awareness, and point people towards intervention. And that intervention, you have to decide what it may be. But we all need strategy, skills, and tools. And so when we are equipped with an arsenal of strategies, skills, and tools, and I talk about that a lot, we're just in a better position to make better choices. And some people need a little more than strategy, skills, and tools. Or another way of looking at it is that part of their strategy, skills, and tools is that they may seek out a being involved in a therapeutic process. Now, you know what I think about that. I am an advocate of the therapeutic process because lives change. I've engaged in it. I encourage it. It took my life and the quality of my life to an entirely other level. So on my website, www.janicepons.com, there is a resource page. You can avail yourself to that. Go there and see for yourself what's there. Groups, therapists, it'll just take you down a path. The research has been done for you, because all I want to do, provoke thought, bring awareness, and some people may decide, you know what? I need to take a closer look at that. And the research has already been done, and you can take a look at what's on that resource page. Because sometimes people get backed in a corner and they're not sure what they're supposed to do to be able to address various issues that are going on in their lives. All of us have issues. All of us have something going on. However, some people's issues are a little more intense than others. And because of those issues, they will respond or react in a certain way. They just do. They respond or react in a certain way, and sometimes it's not healthy. Now, I endeavor and I have learned and I embrace and I promote learning how to be a solution focused responder. A responder, not a reactor. Now, when people are reacting, it will manifest in so many different ways. So many different ways. One of those ways that people react is yelling, yelling, screaming. Why do people yell? More specifically, let's take a look at why do parents yell? And as I was growing up, they called it hollering. Stop that hollering. Hollering, yelling, it's all the same thing. Why do parents yell at their children? Why do some parents choose to not engage with their children in a conversational tone in order to get them, their children, to reach a goal, to get a particular behavior manifested that the parent may have in mind? Why do they yell? The yelling affects your children in a very specific manner. A lot of people don't even think about it. A lot of us we grew up in homes where we were yelled at, cussed at, screamed at, backhanded, yell, scream, holler, yell, scream, holler, and we think that that's the proper way to communicate. Is it? Now, our podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, we talked about types of communication: assertive, aggressive, passive aggressive, and passive. Our goal is to definitely be assertive communicators. Assertive communicators don't holler, but boy, they are very effective. Aggressive communicators, they holler. Passive aggressive, they can holler. Passive, they usually shut down, and then uh, it builds, and they pop, and then they holler and do other things as well. So we want to be assertive communicators where and we talked about this before, but just as a highlight, because it ties right into this. We want to be assertive where we communicate effectively with each other, with our children, with others in our lives, and we get our desires and our needs met without hurting anyone verbally and or physically. That's the goal. That's the goal. So what happens when we yell at our children? What happens when we yell? I had some people in my family, people in my family, relatives. All they did was holler at each other. And I was like, wow, they are high strung all the time. It was just the highest pitch of yelling. Well, I tell you, well, not. And I was like, oh my God, they do this all the time. Husband and wife. It tripped me out. I was like, wow, they think that this is effective communication. It was really sad. It was a sad example for their children to observe, because children learn by what they observe. What does yelling accomplish? Well, with your children, more often than not, yelling makes their behavior problems get worse. It really does over the long run. You've got to understand the effect that yelling has on someone. When children are shouted at, their bad behaviors over a period of time, it increases. They certainly aren't learning any problem solving skills. They're learning that the way you get your needs met, or the way someone communicates with you is that they holler at you, they yell at you. So that doesn't make for peace in their souls. That makes for anxiety in their souls. So we can think that we're solving something by yelling at our children, and actually it's not helping at all. We're not being effective communicators where we're learning to sit down with them, talk face to face, and say, look, we got an issue going on here, baby. We need to talk through this. Me and you need to talk through this together. So yelling at them makes the situation better because you're not getting at the root of the problem. Be quiet, sit down, get over there. I'm gonna kick your this. And we haven't even gotten to a solution yet. You're just hollering and barking at them about what you think they ought to be doing, but it's not solving any problems. So yelling usually makes the behavior worse. They may even shut down. They may even become passive where they just turn it inwardly and they stuff and they stuff and they stuff and they stuff and they pop. And a lot of times that pop may be self-destructive behavior. So the behavior gets worse. They don't know what to do with those feelings, but they're feeling it, and it is absolutely overwhelming, and they're not sure what to do with it. And so therefore, destructive behavior. I've talked to people that were cutting, and they were saying that they were just so overwhelmed with feeling lifeless that when they cut, they saw blood, and they were like, oh, I'm alive. Wow. Wow. Thank you for telling me what was going on in your thought patterns on that. So yelling often makes behavior worse. Now, you know what else yelling can do? It changes the way a child's brain develops. Oh, yeah. They've done MRI scans of people who had a history of parental abuse in childhood with scans of those that did not have an abuse history. And they found a noticeable physical difference in the parts of the brain responsible for processing sounds and language. You hear that? Sounds and language. There was a visible difference in those who had been abused and those that hadn't, those who had been yelled at. There was a physical difference. You know what else yelling can lead to? Depression. Absolute depression. Listen, everybody gets sad, but when you have 2 weeks of that sadness and you can't get over it and just overwhelmed sense of hopelessness and helplessness and just feeling like you just can't go on, maybe a person is dealing with depression and they need a doctor, they need a professional to help them to diagnose it first of all and to treat it. And there are other modalities that can address it as well. But when 13-year-olds who were yelled at, researchers also found they had symptoms of depression. They were just yelled at, and when I was growing up, they would call they browbeat you, browbeat. That's a term that the older folk use. They just browbeating them. Stop browbeating that boy. Stop browbeating that boy. I'd hear old people say that. And it says, stop hollering at him. Yelling has an effect on physical health. Do you know, again, they've studied the stress in childhood and children. And when people are growing up under this constant barrage of being yelled at and verbally abused and physically abused, it affects their physical health. They have health problems. And one specific health problem that they can have is chronic pain. Now, just when I said that, I felt a quickening inside of me. I felt, it's like I got a revelation. It's like, wow. So they aren't processing what they're feeling. They aren't giving a language to, I'm always talking about name and explain, name and explain. When you name something that's going on and explain, put a language to it, we end up taking our lives back one thought and one feeling at a time. When you don't do that, where does it go? Where do all those emotions go? You store them inside your tissues, inside your cells, inside your joints. So when children have negative experiences over and over and over again, a lot of times down the road, they end up with arthritis. And the revelation I got is that all of that toxicity is going inside of your system, your emotions, your physical body, your circulatory system. There is no healthy venting. So people end up with arthritis, bad headaches, back and neck problems, and other chronic pain issues. This is all coming from yelling. Now, speaking of yelling, about 2 weeks ago, I saw something that really stopped me in my tracks. Everything I've been talking about here, I saw unfold right in front of me on a video that's about 2 minutes long. And I want us just to take a moment to look at that. I want you to give this your undivided attention, and it's very thought provoking. Now, one thing that really stood out to me. This was in an airport. This is a real life situation, and it went viral on the internet. It went viral on all social media platforms. And one thing that, see, I was a teacher, I was a school psychologist. The little girl in this clip, she is of the age of most of the ones that I taught. My heart went out to her because I knew this was not her first time dealing with this, and it was a lifestyle. And you'll hear her heart's plea. And so we've got that queued up. So we're gonna go ahead, just give this your undivided attention, and we'll come right back. Let's look at this together.
A woman has been filmed throwing luggage and wielding a pole at staff at an airport check-in as her little girl begged her to stop. Shocking video shows as the traveler goes behind the desk before picking up a box to launch as the youngster cries hysterically. The unidentified woman then walks away with a man and the child before turning back, picking up the pole used to divide lines and running at staff. It is not known where the footage was taken or when, but uploading it to Reddit on Friday, one user wrote, "Dad's friend sent him this from work." Evidently she was on the no-fly list. The video shows staff in masks in front of both the Frontier and Alaska Airlines desks.
Síguete metiendo con una de Puerto Rico cuando tú veas. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Now, you need to go.
What is it?
Okay. I've always heard that a picture paints 1,000 words. So maybe a video that's caught and captured like that paints 10,000 words, 20,000 words. That is very, very thought provoking. Of course, I had such a heart of compassion for the woman But can you imagine the compassion that I felt for that little girl? She was begging her mommy, Mommy, please, can you just, it was gut wrenching. Mommy, I don't want you to go to jail. I guarantee you that that's not the first time she's seen her mom out of control. That woman is dangerous. That's a dangerous person. Now, I don't know if she has some mental health diagnosis that would encompass one having wide mood swings. I don't know. But obviously, she has a goal in acting that way. I mean, when people have exhibit behaviors, they have a goal. They're trying to meet a goal. And when I first started this podcast and I was talking about that man that was picking up the chair and was going to throw it through the window, and I had a room full of patients doing a therapeutic group, and he just went off. And I had to decide what was I going to do. And I told the mental health team, get them out the room right now. And they were hustling around, just hustling, getting them out of the room, because safety, you got to have safety first. So then I was just, sir, look at me. And he was infuriated. He had that chair over his head. He was getting ready to throw it through the window. It would have been a bad scene. Ooh, that would have been a bad scene. And I asked him, sir, what do you need right now? What do you need right now? And he was just like, what? What do you mean? What do I need right now? Sir, what do you need right? Somebody's got to stay calm. It would be helpful. Anyway, if somebody stay calm, sir, what do you need right now? And he told me. He used some choice language, but the bottom line, he said, I need somebody to, his word, listen to me. Whoa, I'm trained to do that. And I have a natural inclination towards it. He told me what his goal was. He wanted to be heard. I said, sir, I'm respectfully asking you to put that chair down. I am here to listen to you. Tell me further what you need. He put the chair down. Well, I pulled my chair up first. He put the chair down. And within less than 15 minutes, he had wept, cried, and agreed to formulate a treatment plan with me. The man went on to become one of the top leaders, number one leaders on that unit. It was powerful. I had to find out what his goal was. What is that woman's goal that we just saw in that video clip? What is the little girl's goal? What was that child's goal? Seeing her mom act like that. When children like her are exposed to events such as that, or children within our homes are exposed to shouting incidents or behaviors that are acted out like that, they tend to have a low self-esteem and depression and anxiety. Can you see why? Can you see why they'd be just a ball of anxiety, tension, not knowing what to do, low self-esteem? She can't take control of anything. She's begging her mom. So there was a study done by the Journal of Child Development where they were measuring and studying the effects that yelling had on children. And guess what? It increased anxiety, stress, and depression. And guess what else it increased? Behavioral problems. Now that little girl, she's she's got to go to school the next day. You think her mind's very focused on reading and language and arithmetic and just, making wise choices? It's supposed the law enforcement took the mama off. What did they do with the little girl? Did she end up in DHS, the Department of Human Services, or Child Protective Care? Or did she get into the care of a relative? I mean, a lot of logistics were going on there. That was an assaultive, dangerous, out of control parent, woman, who had a little girl that they got to decide what they're going to do with her. So all of those things contribute to anxiety, stress, depression. What are we going to do? So it doesn't, a parent, they're trying to sound authoritative, but actually they're out of control. They're not very authoritarian. They're coming trying to. I told you, I'll come over there and do this. You know what they sound like? They sound like somebody that's totally out of control. Could it be that parents are yelling and screaming like that woman was because they simply don't know what to do? They feel helpless. They may feel hopeless. Now, my understanding of that woman, she had been put on a list, you can't fly. So that tell me right there, she's been acting out before. They were like, we're not letting her on our plane. She will not get on our plane. So she had been flagged as dangerous. So what did she do? She acted out her feelings. That was a demonstration. What we saw there, we were talking about those types of communication. That was aggressive. You have assertive, that's the goal, but we have passive aggressive, aggressive, and passive. She wasn't passive, not there. They told her, I don't know, all the scenario that led up. She knew she couldn't fly, and there she went. She went off. So what's the goal in yelling? She's trying to get a need met. She was digging a hole deeper. That woman needs an anger management class yesterday. Well, she's probably going to end up in court and will be required to take that type of class. Glory to God. Maybe it'll save her life. Maybe it will save her child's life. That little girl needs to be in therapy. That little girl needs to give a language to what she's experiencing. She is tight. She is in a ball of... Can you see why? The anxiety, the depression, the low self-esteem. Can you see why? And yelling is not the way to reach that goal. Not with that baby. Not with any one of them. So, look, what do we do? What do we do? What are the answers? Effective communication. We're not used to communicating in certain ways. Like I said, you grow up hollering, cussing, yelling. But there is a structured way to look at an alternative way of communicating with your child other than yelling. One is you got to think this out in advance that, okay, what's my goal? So we look at A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. A is antecedents, B is behaviors, C is consequences. So the antecedent is the setup where we're telling a child specifically what you want them to do before you want them to do it. How does that occur? In a conversation. Baby, come here, sit down. Mama just wants to talk to you. Yeah, I need your help. Now that is powerful. I've had the most out of control people. I'll look at them and say, look, hold on. I need your help. They're like, what? They're not used to anybody asking them for their help. They're used to people hollering at them, shutting them down, saying, be quiet, shut up. I don't want to hear what you got to say. They have a low self-esteem. They're anxious. They're depressed. Nobody's been concerned about what they think. I need your help. So the antecedent is we're setting this up. The behaviors are where the behaviors defined is shaped. And guess what? It's modeled. It's modeled by a parent where they're demonstrating being assertive, getting their thoughts and needs met without hurting anyone verbally and or physically. The consequences of they met the goal. And guess what? The yelling is not there. The cussing is not there. And all of a sudden you have a goal that's met and you don't holler or yell. Listen, we're going to keep talking about this kind of thing because this done the wrong way, ineffective communication can lead to destruction. But we want to go from destruction to dignity because we want to make good, healthy choices that affect our children and everyone else around us. Keep coming back next week. We're going to dig a little bit deeper in some things. God bless you.
We are God empowered, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation, a new nation.